Alrighty, another week in Kingdom, a medley of expansions. What's happening? So for draw, we got a lot of options for draw to X. First mate draws up to 6. In the townsfolk pile, you've got blacksmith, which can be standard draw, but it's often better if you can use the draw to 6 effect after reducing your hand size a little bit. With elder playing blacksmith, that gets even a little bit better. You could do 6 cards plus 2 cards, or 6 cards plus 1 card plus 1 action. I think Elder on Blacksmith is usually the strongest synergy available in the Townsfolk pile, and often can be pretty decent. Not like a super powerful thing or anything, but something to watch out for. Uh, Blacksmith also resolves in basically exactly the order you would want it to. You do cards top to bottom, so if you choose multiple options with Elder, you would draw up to 6 first, and then do the 2 cards, which is obviously the correct order to do things in, and also non-optionally the one that it will happen in. So we got draw to X, and then lastly there's Fellowship of Scribes, which is kind of like draw to X. It draws a flat +1 card, but it only triggers if you have 4 or fewer cards in hand. But the only way to get favors here is Bauble. And Bauble is itself a stop card, so you get 1 favor, which you spend for 1 draw. You're getting draw back, but you're not net drawing off of that. So you can't really plan on that for the long term. So plenty of ways to like draw up to X, and there's decent support for that. Like you could discard your cards with Oasis or Cellar to get through the coppers, play some Oasis, Pawns, Elders for money, or Craftsman for gains, and draw back up with First Mate or Elder. All of that stands in opposition to the other option, which would just be drawing your whole deck with City Quarter, which I think is probably the better option. Like, draw to X looks okay here. You could play with all of this. But City Quarter is a pretty strong card. It's also a village. We'll see. I suspect probably what you do is you take maybe a first mate or something early to kick off the deck, and then you move into city quarters. What else is happening? Actions, we got city quarters, a village. First mate is potentially village if you use it to play 2 more actions from your hand. Elder is not a village. It plays an extra action card, but that's only net 1 action. Net 0 action, so it is +1 action. Lost Arts can be a pretty strong village. You put this on a card that you have a lot of, like Pawn or City Quarter or something, and get a lot of villages out of it. So actions shouldn't be a big problem. Trashing is just develop, which is a bit of a limitation, especially if you're trying to play with a draw to X deck. You really want coppers and estates out of the deck even more than usual because they trip those cards up. So develop, I mean, it'll do the trick, but it's not amazing for thinning coppers in particular. There's also, for the most part, no 4-cost cards in the Kingdom, which is a big problem for develop. There are 4 Millers in the Townsfolk pile, but develop is a card that really wants 4-cost cards of some sort to exist, because there's naturally cards that cost 2, 3, 5, and 6 in the supply guaranteed. But there's no guarantee that there's anything with gaining 4. And if you just play develop a bunch of times for gaining stuff later in the game, you're going to trash 3s and want to gain a 2 and a 4. You're going to trash 5s and want to gain a 4 and a 6. And you're going to want to have 4s that you can trash into 3s and 5s. You just end up getting a bunch of cards of various numbers. And if there's a big gap in the ladder up to expensive things, develop gets a lot weaker. Like if you find that Philosopher's Stone is in the Kingdom, well then the Kingdom has potions. And you're never going to buy a potion for a Philosopher's Stone. But with develop round, just the existence of potions is actually a big benefit, because it's a 4-cost card that you can gain off of 1 develop and then immediately trash into something else. And so the lack of 4s here makes develop a weaker gainer than usual. Also, kind of by a similar token, develop gets a lot stronger if there happens to be a 7-cost card in the Kingdom, like Bank or something. Even if the card is terrible, just the existence of 7 means you can develop 6s into 5s and 7s, then turn the 7s into provinces. So develop gets stronger with 7s around, and really needs 4s around to be a good gainer. So for gains, we got develop as a gainer, but the lack of 4-cost cards, I think hamstrings it a good deal here. Craftsman can gain 5s, which is okay. There's a few decent 5s, nothing super important to the 5-cost price point here. And then Pawn is plus buy, Bauble is plus buy. That's enough. How to open? I surely want to develop in the opening. I don't know what I'm pairing with it. I think you probably want 2 develops here, just because it's the only thinner. But I don't think you want to open with 2 develops, because there's a good chance of them colliding. quite helpfully, if you develop an estate, it will top deck develop for the next turn, which is a good way to get 2 develops into your deck while minimizing the chance they collide. So even if I want a second develop, I'd rather gain it off of the first develop. Nothing else is really jumping out to me. Oasis is money, but it's draw negative, which is not something you really want all that badly. Like +1 card, discard a card is not neutral. It's more like a copper over the long term, but it is an action card. It's a non-terminal action card that kind of cycles itself, and it's okay having actions in the deck with City Quarter or first main round. So Aces is okay-ish here. Cellar maybe gets me to the develop. Town Crier looks okay. Lines up a develop, I can just cantrip it. If it doesn't, I can take it for 2 coins. I'm not really trying to hit high price points here all that much for the time being. I don't need the 5s. Maybe I'd take a first mate if I hit 5. Also give me some control over the townsfolk pile, which maybe is relevant. I think Oasis, Town Crier, Cellar all look okay. I'm gonna go with the Oasis. I said Oasis, I meant Cellar. This is a lovely draw. Develop on top. Do not want to draw it dead with the Fellowship of Scribes. Thank you for the offer, but I will decline. Oh, another interaction that is worth pointing out is Bauble allows you to top deck stuff, which I think is pretty strong with City Quarter. City Quarter eventually draws a bunch of cards, but you need something to kick off the deck. Because your first City Quarter is at risk of being in a hand with a 1 other action card and just being a cantrip. But the first City Quarter draws a bunch of cards, and the next City Quarter draws a bunch of cards, and it's very feast or famine. So stuff that lets you reliably seed your starting hand with a set of good cards is really beneficial. So imagine you have like 4 money and some buys, and you just top deck like Pawn City Quarter. It's a good way to guarantee that your next turn goes well. Anyways, I don't think I need that quite yet. I don't know, maybe. No, I thought this was super important. Maybe I do just buy a Bauble now. Sure. I have a third estate down here, so if I sell away the coppers, I'm at risk of hitting 1, which is a lot worse than 2 here. So if I don't sell away the coppers, I'm guaranteeing that I top deck 3 bad cards. Oh, there's a much better answer. What if I just discard all 3? Then I develop the new estate. Problem solved. Take an Oasis. Don't draw it. I guess I could take a silver, but no, there's no value in hitting 4 here. Do I want to draw here? Not really. I think I want to stop and buy a first mate. Or I could buy Lost Arts already. I have a likely develop collision coming up to put Lost Arts on develop. Sure, I'll do that. Gain a silver, draw it, trash, take a second town crier or a pawn. I guess I'll take a town crier. Do I want to hold on to the bauble? I think the answer is no. Maybe, Like if I get it 2 and 2 buys, that might be enough to just buy a pawn, buy a City Quarter, top deck it, and that might be enough to be fine. I don't think it's super high priority, so I think I just want to find the other develop is more important to me. And trash 2 cards. Pass on that city quarter for the moment. Trash. 2 coins. First mate. And now I just want to cycle everything to maximize the chance I find that first mate, which was not meant to be. Okay, here I can potentially top deck a city quarter. By top deck. Pawn. Or no. I think I'd rather a town crier here, because if I find multiple town criers with the first mate, I'm quite happy. Like this. I gotta be honest, if I was looking at this kingdom, I would have had zero expectation of putting Lost Arts on develop. That is not a expected target. It just worked out that way given the state of my deck that I wanted Lost Arts on that particular card at that exact point in time because there were 2 develops coming up. And now I'm in kind of a weird situation. Not a bad one or anything, but this is not a spot I expected to be in all that much. Okay, we can trash here. Coins. Do I? I want to rotate, I think. I really want the Millers just as targets for the develop. Maybe okay. I changed my mind. We're going back to Millers. And there's just like only so many 4-cost cards that can be gained in this kingdom, namely exactly 4 of them, and they make for really good targets for develop while they last. Doesn't that defeat the point? The whole reason I wanted the Miller was to develop into it. But I don't have anything I need to develop it. I think I just shouldn't count on vain dreams of keeping the Millers around long enough to make use of develop with them. Yeah, they're already gone. Oh well. I'm taking a gold, which seems weird to me. Gold's not great here. Certainly not with draw to X. It's also an action card, which doesn't play nicely with city quarter. What if you got enough city quarters? You're fine having a few treasures as payload, and you can deal with that. But I don't think the bot's deck is at that point. In fact, the bot might just like mold a little too much. Is first mate first better than city quarter? Probably. Right. Would not mind gaining some elders. How do I do that here? I could turn something into a craftsman and play it, but I value all my 2s. I could gain a silver off of Town Crier and draw it. Yeah, develop is running out of useful targets. Probably I just trash develop into a 2-cost next turn. I'm done with it. Given that I'm thin enough, I think I can support the silver here. I don't think I need a third city quarter right now. Let's just stay at it. I probably should have thought about that. If I realized I was only going to make one money, probably keeping the copper for an extra turn to get a pawn would have been worth it. Now, I think I want elders. Am I willing to kill the millers to gain elders early? I think I am. I like having the millers in the deck because they help me find the city quarters, which is definitely a good thing. But I think just the immediate value of trashing Miller, gaining a 5 and a 3 sounds excellent. Okay. Elder on pawn, by the way, it's not a super big synergy or anything, but you get to choose the third thing, which is kind of nice. That's also something that I should have looked at the beginning. With Elder in the Kingdom, it's worth checking whether there's any other cards in the Kingdom aside from Town Crier and Blacksmith that say choose on them. In this case, I think Pawn is the only one. Bobble says choose, but there's no way, barring some very extreme edge cases, I don't think, for an Elder to ever play a Bobble and choose things. You would need your Bauble to be an action card, which can only happen with the Prophecy Enlightenment, but you would also need to play the Bauble in the buy phase, otherwise Enlightenment would override its effect. So you would need to have like Scepter plays Elder plays Bauble in an Enlightenment Kingdom. Anyways, Elder can't play Bauble is the real answer. Anyways, card action coin. The last two elders. And now I definitely want a third city quarter. So I think I lead with the first mate here. If it draws me even one action, or if it draws me two action cards, which it's almost certainly going to do, then it's breaking even. Yeah, here we go. Do I have any good targets for development now? Eh. Again, the lack of fours just really hamstrings Delph's ability to gain things. With a 4 in the kingdom, you get like Craftsman gain 5s, develop into 4s and 6s. I mean, I guess you could do that and just gain a gold. Trashing 3s doesn't look so hot. There aren't any 4s to trash. I think it might just be time to kill the develop. Probably so, right? I think I want to add stuff that adds more reliability to my deck. Because I'm looking at this hand and thinking, Elder on Town Crier, gaining a bunch of silvers is the easiest way to add a ton of payload really fast. But once I've got a bunch of silvers in my deck, City Quarter starts to get a little bit less reliable, because it can trip up on those. And so I need stuff that can kick things off. So probably develop into a second bauble for favors. Well, the favors aren't that important. I can just top deck City Quarter. Maybe just more pawns then. Yeah, I think it's one pawn. Coin gain silver. Coin, gain silver. Draw that. Gain a scepter. Coin actions. One more scepter. Replay elder, play pawn. Card buy coin. This one's for sure going to be buy and top deck. Yeah, I think I want to top deck a first mate. Pay off the debt. I would like to stay out of debt as much as possible because we're getting to the point where pileouts are a possibility. And if I'm in debt, I can't realistically threaten to pile out. Probably want to top deck some pawns. And then just like province city quarter. No thank you on that one. This is one debt which I can stomach. The pawn stack continues to confuse me. It has city quarters, which is good. This has a lot of treasures. Are you drawing consistently over there? Am I getting this hand to less than 6 cards to play first mate? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Conceivably, if I did first mate on Elder, but Elder only has okay-ish targets, maybe that's worth it. Probably so. Play the Craftsman first. Actually, am I? I don't think I'm hitting 32 here, am I? I guess it doesn't really change what the Craftsman gains. Okay. Does this win? That's a lot of math to do. What's the best thing my develop can gain? Not super clear. I would need 4 buys, which I have with bauble and pawn, but it means I couldn't do something like bauble into silver. I don't think. I guess I could have just used scepter 1 pawn for a 4th buy. But then I'm losing money and it kind of defeats the point. Is there anything at all remotely productive for this develop to do? It is not at all clear that it is. I think just developing the craftsman into a pawn might be the best thing then. Craftsman takes 2 debt to gain a scepter. The scepter can pay off the debt, but then, yeah, I think gaining scepter at this point doesn't sound great. So let's say I develop craftsman into pawn. Elder on town crier twice for coin, silver, coin, silver. I draw with the pawn. I'm like 2/3 likely to find one of those silvers. It's not great odds. Is there a way to do all that in the buy phase, maybe? And then top deck the silvers so I don't draw the province? I think so. Okay, so new plan. Craftsman gets turned into a pawn. My first pawn draws that pawn. Then play bauble. Choose top deck and coins. Then Elder Town Crier takes silver, top decks it. What's that hitting? 10 money, 18 money, 20, 22, 24, minus 3 debt is 21, 22 with the bauble, 24, 26, 28, 30. This feels like it gets there. It's going to be close-ish. I need to make sure I'm getting 4 buys. Maybe this is the wrong order. Maybe I just play the pawn for buys and coins. And then I replay a draw card. Well, if I keep second guessing myself. If I'm just drawing with first mate, I don't even need the top deck effect. I can just do buy coin. Which also kind of negates the point of doing all within the buy phase. I just couldn't make up my mind. Okay, got there with some money to spare. Bit of a confusing kingdom. I think it'd be a lot more interesting if there were any 4-cost card, and then you could do a lot of stuff to develop. That would only add to the confusingness of the kingdom, but would make for a lot more happening, I think. The bots deck. I mean, City Quarter makes sense. All these cards make sense, but that's a lot of treasures. This just doesn't seem like a deck that draws itself reliably. I think I have my doubts.